Hello, Chastity.
Good evening.
It's so good to have you on here co-hosting with me tonight. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
So hello to everybody who is joining us. Please let us know that you are here, that you are watching tonight. I think you guys know who I am. I'm Lina Lassiter, and I am the president and founder of Forever Healed. And Chastity Woodson is actually our vice president. I'm also a licensed minister, an advanced grief recovery method specialist. I'm a senior leader in corporate, and I'm happy to be here with you tonight. Forever Healed, what we aim to do is to help those who have broken hearts end their pain and reclaim their lives forever. And this is done in several different ways through grief recovery classes, one-on-ones, and group sessions. We also go into corporate America and we talk about the hidden cost of grief in the workplace. We have a program called How Helping Children with Loss. And more recently, we are doing work with the Commonwealth Attorney's Office to help families who have lost loved ones due to homicide. So welcome everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? I hear an echo when I'm speaking. You just let me know if you guys can hear me okay, those who are watching. Chastity, can you hear me fine?
I can hear you fine, but I'm going to put mine on mute because maybe that's where the echo is coming from.
All right. Can you hear an echo though when I'm talking?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. Well, it's on echo cancellation. All right. Is that better? That's better? Okay. All right. So welcome everybody. Hopefully we got the sound in order. I was hearing an echo, so I didn't want you guys hearing that. Please send a hello. Let us know that you are watching. Tonight, I am honored to have Chastity Woodson with me. She's our vice president, and we are going to be talking about forgiveness. So this is part 3 of our session on forgiveness. So hopefully you guys have seen my video of me talking about forgiving my brother's murderer. So tonight, Chastity and I are going to have a candid conversation about my journey of pain, but more importantly, my being healed and forgiving. So this, again, is a judgment-free zone. Please feel free to ask any questions that you want to ask me. I will answer any of your questions. Know that I am definitely healed, so nothing that you ask me is going to cause me pain. What I'm hoping is that me being transparent will help some of you who may have gone through a similar situation, or maybe not necessarily losing someone, but maybe you are holding on to some unforgiveness to someone who have perhaps done you wrong. So I see we have a few comments here. Hi, Don. Hi. Thank you so much for your support. Hi, Maria. I'm so happy to have you join us tonight. All right, Chastity.
All right. Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you, Verlina, so much for sharing your story and just being candid and honest about everything. It does look a little strange when you say you forgave your brother's murderer. A lot of people can't wrap their head around that. I know I couldn't at first. And then when I went through the class, the healing class, the grief recovery class, it helped to open my eyes up to a lot. And I didn't realize how much forgiveness played a part in my everyday life.
Yeah.
So thank you. But I would like to know what made you decide to come out and share your story?
Well, several reasons. So, during COVID, so for me, COVID has honestly been a blessing, if you will, because we had grief recovery classes scheduled, which you know that. I had a couple of speaking engagements, but because of COVID, it caused us to kind of pause for a moment. And because of that pause, I've been able to collaborate with other people in the industry, kind of slow down and think about some things that I have overcome in my life that perhaps could help, other individuals. Now, for a long time, I have been wanting to help individuals who have lost, a loved one, due to, homicide. But this was the time. Sometimes it's just not the right season. And I just felt like this was the right time, because people are dealing with a lot of hurt right now, a lot of pain right now. And some people are dealing with, unforgiveness with some friends and family members over whatever the situation, may be. So I just felt like this is the opportune time, Chastity, to just be open and transparent and share my testimony to be able to help someone else. Also, the holidays are coming, and some people have lost loved ones, and it's close to the holiday. So I just want to be able to be that voice, bring some inspiration, bring some hope, bring some joy to others. So this was the opportune time.
Thanks. Thank you. Because it definitely is. Would you mind sharing a little bit about the relationship that you and Keith had?
Absolutely. So Keith, we were 6 months apart. My mother had me at a very young age, guys. So my mother and my grandmother was pregnant at the same time. So Keith was my uncle, right? But to me, he was my brother because we grew up like brother and sister. So we learned how to, ride bikes together. We learned how to write our names together. We just learned everything together. And he was probably like the first family member that I truly loved. Like we had a deep bond because, again, just being 6 months apart. And I felt a sense of protection with him. Like we always wanted to protect each other, like how siblings do, always had each other's back. Even if we were wrong, we always, kind of took up for each other. So to me, Chastity, he was my brother.
Yeah, definitely. I know it could be hurtful, but would you mind sharing with us what happened?
Sure, absolutely. So September 3rd, 2007, Keith was actually murdered. He was stabbed to death. I'll never forget that day, Chastity, because we actually spoke. And I can recall him telling me that, he was invited to this cookout and he shared with me that he didn't necessarily want to go to the cookout, right? He just wanted to chill at home, take care of my granddad. So Keith was actually living in Virginia. He moved back to New York to take care of his father who had Alzheimer's disease and he was legally blind. So after my grandmother passed away, somebody needed to, to live with my grandfather. So, so he was just saying he wanted to stay at home, take care of my granddad. So what I said to him was, well, if you have a feeling about, going to this cookout or you really don't want to go, I'm not going to say he had a feeling like something was going to happen to him, but it was just, I don't feel like going, so just tell your friend that you don't want to go, to the cookout. But he ended up going, Chastity. So what happened was Keith was dating a woman who was in a prior relationship with Keith's murderer. So when Keith's murderer was released from jail, of course, he was upset, that his female was seeing someone else. So it was an arrangement, from what I understand. The person who drove Keith to the cookout was going to stop by this convenience store, this gas station, to pick up some things to go to the cookout. But Larry was there at the convenience store. So Larry came outside and he approached Keith. And Keith put his hands up like, I don't want any trouble, with you. I don't want any trouble. And Larry proceeded to stab Keith in the heart. So he stabbed Keith and he hit a major, vessel. And the fact that Keith drank, so I won't sit here and act like Keith was a saint, but the fact that Keith drank a lot is the reason that he died so quickly. So anyway, they stabbed him. He didn't have a wallet on him when he was found. So that means they would have had to have taken his wallet. And they left him there, Chastity, to die on the street alone, like an animal. So that's what happened to him. Hi, Wendy.
Okay. Wow. Wow, that's a lot. And that's a lot for you to just candidly talk about. Wow. Um, how did you get all of this information?
So we got a lot of information through family members who were living in New York at the time. And I called the DA's office every day almost. I mean, I was calling them, trying to obtain as much information as I could about Keith's murder, because I just wanted to understand. Like when it first happened, you just want to know why it happened. You want to know all the facts. You just want to understand, like what happened. So I was constantly calling the DA's office to, obtain information to see what happened. Why did they leave him there like that? Did they find his wallet? And of course, you want to know. I don't know why we want to know this as humans, right? But did he suffer? You know. But in the last words that he said, right, he looked at his friend who was driving him there, and he said, "He stabbed me." Those were his last words. So yes, Chastity, I even asked what were his last words. So a lot of the information was through family members and through the district attorney's office in New York.
Wow. that's that's a lot. Um, I know you're gonna talk to us about how you forgave the guy. The first thing that comes to my mind is how how could you do that? But I guess my question would be, how long did it take you to do that? I mean, this wasn't an overnight process.
No, it definitely was not an overnight process for me, but some people do speak about how for them it was immediate. For me, it wasn't immediate because, to be totally transparent, I didn't want to. I didn't want to forgive him. Initially, and the way the facts, again, as I have known them, I just felt like this person was a monster. He doesn't deserve to be forgiven. He doesn't deserve me even saying his name, right? And looking at the facts that I had at the time, and in my anger and my heart of unforgiveness, the facts justified how I felt. So I want you guys to hold on to that for a second, because it was the same facts that I looked at with the heel heart, and I saw something totally different. So when you're walking in unforgiveness and bitterness and anger, your mind goes to the negative places, Chastity, right? So when I saw how he had grown up, he had, grew up with the parents who were in and out of jail. There was a lot of drug activity. He had stabbed someone 3 months prior to stabbing Keith, had stabbed someone in the eye. So for me, the facts was like, see, he's an animal. He grew up like an animal. He stabbed somebody 3 months before. He shouldn't have probably got out of jail. So all the facts that I saw in my anger, it made sense, but I hated him, Chastity. And I was so obsessed with him, like, trying to find whatever information I could find. And back in 2007, we didn't have all the, the great Google stuff that we have now. So it was constantly calling the DA, trying to learn about this person. Does he have kids? Does he understand what he's done? I mean, and I'm just, again, hoping that somebody was going to hurt him in jail. So those were my initial thoughts. And I carried that for years. I carried that for years. And it would make me more angry when I would be at church and I would try to express how I felt, and I would say, gosh, I'm just hurting today. And people say, well, you got to get over it, or they say, well, you got to forgive, so God can forgive you. And, to be absent from the body is present with the Lord, right? And I'm thinking, well, he was 36 years old. He should not be with the Lord right now. Like he just shouldn't be there. So for me, Chapter, it just fueled my anger, and my bitterness. But my road to recovery was a bit different, because when I took the class, the grief recovery class, I didn't know that I was still hurting. So I took the class years later. So I, as most of us do, I'm fine. I'm good. I done laid it at the altar. Prayed about it. Whatever it may be, I'm good. So I remember going to this grief recovery class and sitting around all these people, and I'm thinking, these folks are just messed up. And they right here in the church. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. And didn't realize that I was the biggest wounded healer in that class. And what I mean by that is, here I am working in the ministry, serving and doing all these things. And this is why the church, we have to be careful, because sometimes we put people in position and we put them in leadership positions because of, their skill set or what they may do, right, in the natural world. But if these people aren't healed, they're going to do a lot of hurting to your sheep. So you got to make sure that people are healed. So, me carrying around that bitterness and that anger, not even realizing that, I was a wounded healer, but God can still use you because it's his grace. It's his anointing, right? But I didn't realize that, Chastity. So once I was healed and I was able to release, that pain that I had suppressed for so many years, because again, pretending like all was well, like what we do. And once I was healed, I want everybody to pay attention to this. I saw the same facts, Chastity. Larry is his name. He grew up, in this neighborhood with his parents in a drug infested neighborhood, and dad in and out of jail, whatever, stabbed somebody 3 months prior to Keith. But you know what I saw this time? I saw someone who was hurting. I saw someone who didn't know how to deal with conflict. I had compassion for him at that point. So again, same fact, but looking at it from a heart that's not healed, I felt justified.
Right.
But looking at it from a heart that was healed, I was able to have compassion for this guy. And I felt sorry for him.
Wow.
And I was able to extend him the same grace that I'm extended on a daily basis.
Wow. Wow. That's something. Looking at the same situation, but with two different sets of eyes.
Two different lenses. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for the video. Thank you for being so bold enough to do it. You were talking about being obsessed with Larry. Can you tell me, what does that look like? Because a lot of people will probably wonders, like, a lot of people probably don't know that they're obsessed with something, but they don't realize that the little things that they do every day is causing them to be obsessed. Like, you think about it daily, or you do this or do that daily.
That's
What
it.
did your obsession with him look like?
All the above, everything that you said. Like, I thought about him constantly. I thought about his life constantly. I thought about how much I hated him constantly. So again, just being obsessed, wanting to know every little detail about his life. I wanted to know everything about him. His siblings, his children, his parents, where he lived, where he was going to be sentenced. I wanted to know everything about him. And that's where the obsession came from. Also, the obsession came from wanting justice. Like, I wanted justice, and I wanted him to go away for a long time. So again, in my anger and in my hurt, I just wanted him to be in pain. I wanted him to hurt. I wanted him to feel how we felt. But in that obsession, I realized that, I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. He was constantly on my mind. It was just unhealthy. I couldn't sometimes go to church. I couldn't raise my hands sometimes to worship this God that I truly loved. I was consumed with him, Chastity. I was consumed with him. So in my view, that's what my obsession looked like.
Okay. Thank you. You also stated, and it was interesting that you say you were shackled to Larry. What made you use that term? What do you mean by being shackled to him?
I use the term shackle because a lot of times that, when we carry around that bitterness and that hatred and that anger, you're pretty much carrying that person around. So the best way I can explain it, and again, my experience, I can't speak for anyone else who have lost someone due to homicide, because all of us are unique and individual. Our relationships are unique and individual. So how we process our pain and our grief is going to be different. But I carried him around. So he physically killed Keith, but I allowed him to murder my soul. So that's what I meant when I would just carry him around, and the weight of him had gotten too heavy, so when you're constantly thinking of someone, you can't function, to the point that you can't function of being able to even go to church and raise your hands and worship, because the weight of what this person did. I constantly thought about what he did. I constantly thought about how Keith died, to where I forgot how Keith lived. So I actually just I was carrying Larry around. And guess what? Larry had gotten a little bit too heavy for me to continue to carry around. So that's what I meant when I said I was kind of shackled to him. See, when someone has wronged us and we constantly think about what they have done to us, think about it in a couple of ways. You allow that person to have space in your mental capacity, but you are also carrying that person around with you. And they may have moved on and doing other things and not even thinking about us. But the fact that we're still carrying it, and we're still thinking about them in a negative manner, we're carrying that person.
That is so true. And you stated the facts justified your anger, which it did. So even though you were looking at it, and once you took the class and you realized that you were letting it be a burden on you, how do you still tell yourself that it's not, it's justified, of course, but how do you get yourself out of that mindset of saying, I'm going to be angry about this?
And that's good.
Or
So
I'm going to hate him.
Yeah. And I'm glad that Dawn said this, because this is exactly it, Chastity. So Dawn said that person pulls you down. They do. And it's almost like you're dragging them around. And again, they just get too heavy. So I just got to a place where I said, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. So again, once I was in a healed place, my heart was healed, to be able to have some compassion. Yeah, they were the same facts. And what he did was absolutely wrong. I would never condone it. I still believe to this day that his sentence was even pretty light. He's out now. He's out of prison. So I don't agree with any of that, Chastity. But you know what? I can't carry that around. I can't change his sentence, and again, in my obsession, I would write letters every time he was up for parole to let them know he shouldn't get out of jail. And eventually I just stopped. I just stopped writing the letters, and I just said, whatever will be, will be. I can only control what I can control, and I can control my emotions, and I can control letting him go, and I can say his name now, and it doesn't have the same sting to it. And I knew that I had to remember Keith, the memories that we shared, and not allow Larry to have me focused on, how Keith died. So yeah, the facts were the facts. The murder was ridiculous. It was uncalled for. I still feel that way, but I'm not angry about it anymore. I don't carry that around anymore. I don't carry around that bitterness anymore. I hope and pray that Larry has turned out to be a better person. I hope that he has remorse for, what he has done. I hope he has learned, from what he has done. That's my hope for him. That's my honest hope for him. I hope he's a productive citizen, doing some great things. And I hope that he has gone through anger management to learn how to deal with his anger. So I really hope that this murder woke him up, Chastity.
Definitely. So part of your, would you say part of your obsession was every time you thought about Keith, you were thinking about how he was murdered instead of the time that you all had together.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then that
Yeah.
just kind of pulled Larry back into the equation, right? Because then you say, if it hadn't been for Larry, or hadn't been for this female,
Right.
I wouldn't be here. Yeah.
Right. Is it wrong for someone to feel that once you start forgiving someone, you start looking at yourself like, well, what's wrong with me for wanting to forgive this person, or feeling like it's okay to forgive this person?
Yeah, and I think it's because we don't truly understand what forgiveness is. Because a lot of people feel like, well, if you forgive, then you're condoning, what they did. Some people feel like if you forgive, then it's like a betrayal against your loved one, especially in this particular scenario, right? So am I betraying, my loved one? No. Mm-mm. Nope. As a matter of fact, this is helping me to be able to honor my loved one, because now I can think on the great memories that we had and that we shared versus his interaction, with Larry. Because you know what? That was 3 minutes of his life. But I had 36 years of fond memories prior to that, the last 3 minutes, of his life. But, yeah, some people do feel that way. And I think it's because, Chastity, they don't understand what forgiveness is. And they do feel like it's a betrayal to forgive this person who have wronged my family member.
And that's true. Or when you start to forgive someone, you feel like, I'm accepting what you did and I don't want to accept it. Because if for some reason, if I feel like I accept it, then I think you're accepting it or you're fine with it because I'm okay with it. And that's not what it is. But along those lines, what tips would you give someone who is struggling with forgiving someone that wrongfully did something to them?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is, and again, I want to just share about what forgiveness is. So forgiveness, Chastity, is just about extending mercy to those who have harmed us, right? So even if they don't deserve it, y'all, it's not about finding excuses for the offending person's behavior or pretending that it didn't happen. That's another thing I think we get wrong. So we feel like, well, if I forgive, it's almost like I'm pretending it didn't happen. No, I'm not asking you to pretend it didn't happen, because you know what? Larry killed my loved one. It happened. And even if he didn't deserve it, because what he did, again, it was uncalled for, right? But it's about extending mercy. So we have to change the way that we even look, about forgiveness. Also, working on forgiveness can help our self-esteem. It can give us a sense of inner strength and safety. Believe it or not, there are also psychological benefits for the one who forgives, right? Because it's been shown that it decreased depression and anxiety and other psychological issues, PTSD, things that we may go through. So just as we start to like get into physical exercise, like a physical routine, we have to build up our forgiveness muscles, if you will, right? And sometimes it's a slow process. So it's incorporating regular workouts into your everyday. So Lina, what do you mean by that? And I'm going to show you guys this. So we can do this by changing our confessions. So make a conscious effort not to talk badly about those who have hurt you. I'm not saying that you have to say great things about them. You don't have to say good things about them if you don't want to, but you have to refrain from negative talk because it trains our mind. It trains our mind to be in a posture of forgiveness, right? You're thinking on positive things, and it helps your mind. It's building those muscles in our brain, the way that we think, and we're not just thinking about the negative things. The second thing that we can do is address our pain, because a lot of times people hurt us and we don't address how we feel. Sometimes if the person is still living who have hurt us, we don't tell them how their actions have made us how it has made us feel. We don't talk about it sometimes. We suppress it. So it's important to identify the kind of pain that you are suffering from and acknowledge it, right? So the more hurt that we have incurred, the more important it is for us to forgive for our emotional healing. And then the last thing that I will say is that compassion will cause us to see, again, the same facts with a clear lens. So, addressing your pain, building your forgiveness muscles by retraining how you think. So, no negative talk about what they did, no negative talk about them. Don't give them that space. Don't give them that space, in your head. Again, I'm not saying you have to go around and talk great things about them. I'm not saying you have to be friends with them. You still have to protect your heart, right? If the person is still living that may have wronged you, but don't engage in that negative behavior. So change your mindset, change the way you speak about them. And then again, understand what forgiveness is. And I think once we do that, it's easier for us to walk this path, this journey of forgiveness.
Thank you. I'm going to touch on the compassion part.
Yes, ma'am.
I guess it's kind of easy to have anger and to hold on to the anger and I'm just going to speak for myself. It kind of makes me feel like I'm in control of how I feel. So if I'm angry with you, then when I see you, I can carry this anger. You probably have no idea what's going on with me and how I'm feeling and why I'm rolling my eyes at you. But to me, I'm like, got him. I'm still mad at you. No, I'm not going to give you a whole lot of conversation. So it kind of makes me feel like I'm in control. So how do you bring compassion out of that? Like, how did you get compassion for Larry?
So let me just, I love that you said that, right? So sometimes we feel like anger, sometimes that's our defense mechanism, right? So we have this wall up and, we feel like that we're in control. But I just want you, Chastity, and for those who are watching to consider this, right? So you're angry and you think that you're in control, but you're angry because of something that someone else, has done to you, right? Has wronged you or whatever. See, now you are allowing them to control your emotions. So are you in control? So that's what I always ask people. Are you truly in control?
Wow. No.
Right? You are allowing the act to control your emotions. So in turn, again, you are giving that person permission.
So true.
Yeah, for you to carry around, this anger. So
Yep.
really, if you think about it, you're not in control. They're in control.
Wow.
Because you're angry. And then there are some times that people don't even know that they wronged you, and you think that you're in control, but in all reality, you're not. They are, because you are allowing them to live in that space. You are allowing them to keep you in that negative space. You are allowing what they have done to you to put that wall up. So that's what I always ask people. Are you truly in control?
So true.
Yeah.
So true. How did you let yourself have compassion for Larry though?
Well, I think compassion, it has to come from a healed heart. Again, when you're not in a healed place, guess what? Your lenses are blurred. You can't see clearly. All you can see is what you see. All you can see is your pain. All you can see is what caused your pain. All you can see, are the facts to justify how you feel. But again, when your heart is healed, Chastity, the same facts, sweetheart. The same exact facts, but I can see them clear now. Oh my gosh, this person grew up in this awful environment. Could you imagine being a kid growing up and your parents around all these drugs and your parents in and out of jail? What must his life had been like as a kid, right? So I started thinking about that little kid who probably didn't have the support that he needed growing up. And then I thought, my God, he himself in and out of jail, stabbing people, right? He doesn't even know how to resolve his conflict. He has so much anger built up on the inside of him that he resorts to fighting and pulling out a knife. He doesn't even know how to communicate. So the same facts, but for me with the healed place, that's where the compassion started coming from. Oh, this poor boy. Oh my gosh, the way he must have grown up, not knowing how to resolve his conflict, always ready to explode. I couldn't imagine, what his life must be like. So that's what I mean when I'm saying, the compassion. Now, do I want to be best friends with Larry? No, I don't. But I have compassion for him. I extend him the same grace and the same mercy that I'm extended. Hey, he stabbed somebody, right? He murdered somebody. But how many of us murder folks with our talk? How many of us murder people with what we say about them? How many of us murder people's character? So you have to. So for me, I started looking at it like that. How many people did I wound along the way before I got healed? Who may need a class because Lina has said some things or done some things in her anger, to them. Yeah. Does that help?
Yes. That helped a lot. That helped an awful lot.
I see some.
So compassion doesn't mean I'm weak, but it just means that I'm looking at things through different lenses.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Tanya, I see your question. So how can you forgive someone who hurt you, but they act like they never did anything to hurt you? Tanya, I live that every day with my mom. So you guys know that testimony as well. Growing up, my mom, child abuse by my mother, who would never admit any wrongdoing, right? We never could talk about it. I know, Tanya, that I'm never going to get that apology from her. So I don't seek that anymore. I don't look for it. I don't expect it. So again, it's just that compassion, understanding how she grew up and the things that she had to deal with. So for her acting like nothing ever happened, that's just how they deal with it. That's their avoidance, because you know what? Seeing you, it reminds that person of what they did. So they don't want to talk about it, because you are a reminder of what they did, especially if someone know that they did something to you. They purposefully, did something wrong to you. I just want you to understand that you are a constant reminder of what they did. So they're probably hurting too and just don't want to address it. You may not feel like, they're hurting too, but trust me when I tell you, when they see you, you remind them of what they did, and it's uncomfortable. So that's why they don't want to talk about it, because it makes them feel uncomfortable. I think she was answering my question. Hi, Peggy. Thank you, Kathy. Yes, difficult but necessary. Yes, ma'am. Yes, Peggy, thank you. All right, we're just trying to get through some of y'all questions. Did we get them all? Let's see. So Ms. Pat says, yes, when the heart is healed, that's when the process of forgiveness begins. Amen. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. Yes, ma'am. All right, when I first started going to church and I used to have so much anger, my pastor, the late great Roy Pennon, told me I had to forgive people that have hurt me. I started the process, yet sometimes it's just too painful and I'd rather just not heal to just brush it under the rug. Thank you, Rochelle, for being so transparent with that and being honest with that. But that's what we're taught to do, right? Or I should say not taught. So at a very young age, we are not taught to deal with our feelings and our emotions. And you guys have probably heard me say this again, but for those who are joining the first time, Let me share with you what I mean by that. So at a very young age, we are taught how to acquire things, but we're not taught how to lose things. So for an example, if you were a kid and you scraped your knee, your parents may have baked some goodies for you, right? And no one asked you how you felt. So then you learn how to eat to deal with your pain. You may have lost a pet, and then your parents replaced your pet. And then we learn how to replace things, but no one ever asked you how you felt. You had a heartbreak, and then we're told that there are more fish in the sea, and is there a heartbreak? And it probably was, but no one asked you how you felt, right? And then we start replacing people. So you guys see where I'm going with this? We never address our hurt and our pain, right? So you fast forward this, when somebody dies in your family and your job gives you bereavement time. Well, bereavement time is not grieving time. It's time to put things in order, find life insurance policies, bury your loved one, and then we're taught to get over it. So what happens with all of those feelings, Rochelle, is that we suppress them. And we feel like, you know what? It's more comfortable to suppress them because that's what you were taught to do. And some of us have done some of the same things to our children or said some of the same things. I'm raising my hand, to our kids, not knowing any better. So a lot of times we're not comfortable sitting in our feelings of hurt because no one ever asked you growing up how you felt. No one ever, allowed you to express your feelings. And especially men and boys, right? They punch them in the chest, be strong, men don't cry. Or your parents would say, I get something to cry about. And we don't show our emotions. So that's why, sweetheart, you feel uncomfortable in it. But what I would ask you to do and challenge you to do, Rochelle, is sit in it. Sometimes you have to just sit in being uncomfortable to get to the other side, to get to your healing. I want you to want that healing more than you are afraid of sitting in that feeling of being uncomfortable or being too painful, sweetheart. Because you have to heal. And that's the truth. A lot of times our anger, I was angry for a long time. And I got sick of myself. And I felt like the world owed me something because of everything that I had gone through. I felt like I could treat people how I wanted to because of how I was treated growing up and everything that I had gone through. But you want to be able to release that anger. And the only way that you can do that is to sit in that pain. And I know it's uncomfortable, but you will get through it. And that's the point. Get through it. You will get through it, sweetheart. And I hope that helped to answer your question. But again, I love the transparency out here on Monday night. So thank you, guys. No judgment here. We're going to answer all the questions. You're welcome, Pat. You're welcome, Tanya. Love you too, baby. Tanya asks, how can you get the heart to heal? Well, you have to take the actionable steps. So again, for me, and again, we're all different, right? So I don't knock. So for me, when I went to counseling, I was going to counseling after Keith had passed away. But I was tired of sitting in counseling sessions talking about how I felt because I knew how I felt. I just didn't want to feel that way anymore. But for some people, that's what they need. They need the one-on-one counseling to go talk to somebody and just talk it all out, and get it all out. For me, the way that I think I process information is that I need the tools, right? I need actionable steps. So the class for me worked for me because it was actionable steps. So you give me these steps to take, I do my free work, and then I'm going to feel better after these 8 weeks. Okay, I can do that. But I don't want to come sit in somebody's office and be talking to you for 6 months about how I feel, because for me, the bottom line is I don't want to feel that way anymore. So Tanya, you have to take the steps to whatever is comfortable for you. If it's talking to somebody one-on-one, if it's taking one of our classes, and again, I know we're related. If you don't want to do it with me, hey, you have Chastity here that, can take you through the class. We can do them virtual now. So, we are here to help too. So there are just a number of ways that you can heal your heart, but you're going to have to, first of all, again, talk to somebody in a safe place that you can get all of this out. So whether it's a class, sweetheart, whether it's talking to a counselor, a psychologist, somebody that you trust, a pastor, you have to do you and make the right choice for you. Don't try to put yourself in a box and say, because this worked for them, it's going to work, for me, because the counseling didn't work. for me. Not saying it doesn't work, because we need them. We need psychologists, we need counselors, because again, we are all unique and we are all different. So we are going to heal differently. I know that was a long answer, but I just wanted to make sure that I touched on that for you. Is it okay to forgive but love from afar? I just don't want to deal with them. Kathy, again, great question. And I know a lot of people feel this. So you can forgive somebody, and it doesn't mean that you have to still allow them to be a part of your life, because I'm an advocate on teaching people how to treat us. So if it's someone who constantly continues to hurt you, you don't have to keep subjecting yourself to that. So you can forgive them and move on. They don't have to be an active participant, in your life. And I know people would be quick to say, well, if you forgave, then you should be able to, have this person in your life, right? You forgive and you forget. You forgive, but you also have boundaries. And if that person can't, adhere to your boundaries, then yes, sweetheart, you can love them from afar. And that is absolutely okay. We have to teach people how to treat us. Miss Pat said right. All right. Hopefully that answered your question, Kathy. Any more? Any more questions? Comments, concerns? We're going to have a couple of more sessions this month, guys, on forgiveness. We're going to keep the conversation going because this has been a great topic. We've gotten a lot of great feedback. We hope that you guys feel heard. We hope that you feel respected. We hope that you feel inspired. That is our goal. So we're going to keep the conversations going. Again, I promised you guys, if you know anyone who has been married and their husband has had children outside of the marriage, I'm going to have Teresa come and talk. My first husband, he had a child outside of our marriage, and Teresa and I are going to talk about our friendship. We're going to talk about our journey on forgiveness, and we're going to talk about how I love her son just as much as I love, my children. So we definitely want you guys to be engaged in that conversation. And if you know someone who's dealing with that and having a hard time, like forgiving maybe a spouse for that, or accepting that child, again, tell them to join us, judgment free. So we'll be on the last Monday of this month to share our stories. So Peggy said, I have a different perspective on how to handle people who have hurt me. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad we could help. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate your support. Love you a bunch. Okay. Chastity, any last thoughts or comments for me? Questions before we let the fine people go?
No, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for all the advice. It has been very helpful to me, hopefully to everyone else. Thank you for everyone that was on and had questions or just gave a comment. Thank you so much. This is definitely needed. And it was very helpful. Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome. And we will continue, guys, just sharing practical tips. So next Monday, I'm gonna continue. I gave you guys 3 tips tonight to help you on your journey of forgiveness. So next week, guess what? I will share 3 more tips to help you through your journey of forgiveness. I just want to thank everybody for joining us, for being so faithful, for supporting us, for sharing our videos and liking them. So again, if you know anyone who would benefit from this video, please do us a favor. Please share it, like it. Also, if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We put some goodies out there, some nuggets out there too. So I really appreciate you guys. I hope you feel inspired. Hang on, we have some more comments. They say, hurt people. I'm sick and tired of hurting the ones I really love, even though I'm in counseling, it doesn't seem to be working. So Rochelle, you may need to find a different source, sweetheart, that, you know, that can help you, because perhaps you were like me. So maybe you don't like to just sit and talk about it, but there's a reason that they do that, right? Because they want you to get it all out. And the counselors and psychologists' job is to help you figure out better coping skills. So maybe that's just not the form that's conducive to you right now. So again, you may want to try a group. You may want to try a class. And you're absolutely right. Hurt people do hurt people, but healed people want people healed. Delivered people want people delivered. People, you know, who have been extended grace want to extend grace to everyone else. So you don't have to stay there. And, you know, you can call me after this broadcast, or, you know, anytime, and we can kind of talk through some different resources for you to help you get there. Because number one, you're here, you joined us. Secondly, you're being open and honest about, you know, your journey, you know, with unforgiveness. You just admitted that you're tired of hurting people. So that's the first step, sweetheart, is acknowledging it and owning it. Some people don't do that. So I'm just proud that you have done that. So let's just find the right platform for you to work through your pain. You're welcome, Pat. Thank you. Oh, so she said that I helped her for not feeling guilty about letting go of some people in her life. Yeah. Okay, so good, Wendy. So she said, what are your thoughts on rage rooms, beneficial or no? Now, let me make sure I be very clear, you know, when I say this. So for some people, Wendy, it may be beneficial for them to go there, right, and just get all that anger out. Excuse me. But here, me personally, I just feel like after you finish breaking all that stuff up or having your rage room or screaming or whatever the rage room is, how long is that truly going to sustain you? Because you may feel good in that moment, but then again, how long is that going to sustain you? You know, so that's just like going to church and you get that feeling, and, you know, and you all in your emotions, and you're feeling good, but then you forget what scriptures were even, you know, shared that Sunday. You can't share what scriptures were shared because, again, it's just an emotion. You're kind of getting those emotions out. You're playing on the emotions, but you're not getting to the matter of the heart. And for me, I think it's very important to get to the underlying root and the cause of that anger and that pain. But some people, again, we're all unique and individual, have said that has helped them. Me personally, I don't think that would have helped me, because I would have went in there, I would scream, I would have tore some stuff up, Wendy. But a week or two later, I would have felt myself back in the same place because my heart wasn't right. So again, I don't knock any of it that people, you know, do, because again, we're all unique and individual. And I've had people tell me that, you know, their loved one was murdered, they immediately forgave. And I'm just in awe of those individuals. And I respect them, you know, for that. Hopefully that helped. Good questions tonight. Woo! Y'all got me in a hot seat. I love it. You're welcome, sweetheart. You are welcome. Okay. We appreciate all of you. Virtual hugs to everybody. I want all of you guys to have peaceful rest tonight. Continue joining us on part 4 of Forgiveness next Monday. Please share, like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you guys next week. You're welcome. You're welcome, Kathy. Thanks for joining.
You're welcome. Thank you all.